questions on anything else that doesn't have to do with tonight's subject. So y'all been thinking of your questions. Susan, you're right in the way of that light. Yeah, move over here so I can see you. There we go. Okay, so anybody got a thought, a question that they want to ask a question about before we get started? Everybody wants to hear about blood sugar.
Well, and the thing about this is, what if someone's already diabetic? Is it safe for them to try these things that you're going to see?
It is safe for someone to try this if they're already diabetic, yes. When you have blood sugar issues, high or low, you want to pay attention to feeding the pancreas. You feed the body the food it needs. It has a God-given ability to rebuild itself. So we're going to feed the pancreas. And the adrenals, maybe the other parts of the endocrine system that might possibly be involved. So you don't stop taking any medication. I always say, I didn't put you on it, I'm not going to take you off of it. But at the same time frame, if you add some natural things and you check your blood sugar, which you have to be checking your blood sugar to know how are you impacting it, then when you do that, you can maybe take a little less because your blood sugar is staying in normal range when you added this natural thing, whatever it be.
And if someone's in the pre-diabetic range, this might
we just want to, that's right.
Okay.
If they're pre-diabetic, we want to keep them from staying that way. For sure. Okay, any other thoughts, questions on anything else? Did y'all watch Good Morning America? I love to watch that show in the morning. This morning, it was very interesting because it had a lot to do with supplements. They said that the big box stores like Walmart and Target and Walgreens and places like that, they went in there and they tested a lot of their supplements. The ones they brought up was like St. John's wort and I think it was ginkgo. I can't remember. There was 3 they looked into and, sent it to the lab and tested it. And they found contaminants. They found, and these are the less expensive brand that these companies, carry. Hey, ladies, come on in. And oh, gentlemen too. How are you? And so basically, they found sand and contaminants, and it wasn't always the supplement that you thought you were purchasing. Now, we've talked about that before in here, that it's not always what you thought it was. But if you purchase products from Nature Sunshine, which is the company that I distribute products through, we know for sure that it does not have any of those because there's over 600 different tests that Nature Sunshine does to make sure that it's the herb you're paying for. It doesn't have any extra contaminants, that kind of thing. Hey, folks, come on in, come on in. So tonight's class, we're going to talk about blood sugar, but I think that you need to understand purchasing products from other places. And I'm not saying do it, don't do it. And I'm not saying all products are inferior because there's a lot of companies out there. But I will say that I've had clients of mine purchase products from me and then later go purchase products from somewhere else, anywhere else. And then they call me to say there's a problem. They didn't go back to where they bought that last product when the problem started happening. They asked me. Because if you go in a big box store, are you getting an expert in herbs? Who works in that department? A hired person most of the time. Are they an expert in natural things? 99% of the time, no. So you don't call that person to ask them the question if you have a problem. You call someone like me. And I usually have to find out, are they talking about the product I sold them or something they purchased somewhere else when they're having a challenge with it. And a lot of times it's, I used the example last night in class that a friend of mine purchased Cascara Sagrada, which helped them with eliminations and bowel movement wise. And for them, it was working great. They were taking one in the morning and one in the evening, and it was working beautifully. They had a really good moving experience and it was working great. And they went to another town, because they lived in Centerville, and Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, they were kind of sitting in the middle. So it was just as easy for them to go to Tuscaloosa as it was to come to see me. And so they went there and they bought Cascara, but it wasn't Nature Sunshine. It was the same milligram. The name looked the same. Everything looked the same. It's a little bit cheaper in price, but they had to take 3 times as much to get the same action as they did with one capsule. And I asked them, I said, was it 3 times cheaper? No, it wasn't that much cheaper. Plus, you got to swallow more pills. So then they went back to Nature Sunshine. They've never left. And literally, these people have been clients of mine for over 25 years because they saw the evidence of the purity of the product straight away. And I gave an example last night of this same thing, cranberry. Y'all know cranberry. A lot of people think, okay, that supports the urinary system, right? And we have a product called Cranberry Buku. It's a combination of those two. It's in a capsule, and it's very maroon in color. And if you open up the capsule and you taste the cranberry, sour. All right? A girlfriend of mine was out of town. She ended up with some urinary challenges. She went to the drugstore and she bought 100% cranberry. That's what it said on the front. She opened up the bottle and they were pink instead of reddish. You know, it was more pinkish. She opened up the capsule and she tasted it. It tastes just like Kool-Aid. So she flipped the bottle around. Now it says 100% cranberry juice cocktail. It's not. So, do you want to pay for sugar? That's expensive Kool-Aid, isn't it? So basically, you want to look at all the ingredients. You want to research your supplements, and you want to make sure they're high quality. And like I say, Nature Sunshine, we know they are. They've been around for over 44 years, and you can check things out in their quality control. I've been to the plant in Utah 9 times. I've seen the quality control. I've talked to the people. I've seen how everything is done. And if y'all ever have any questions, let me know. Like I had a person ask me this question, and of course I researched it, and now I can answer it. They said, is there any mercury in the Super Omega-3? You know, Super Omega-3 is a product that we have that is fish oil, and it has DHA, which is also a good fat for your brain. And then it also has some lemon oil, because you can literally bite into this fish oil gel cap. It tastes like lemon. It doesn't taste like fish. That was really hard for me to do the first time. I was like, oh, I don't want that fishy taste in my mouth, but it's lemon. And then it has no mercury in it. And of course, if you call Nature Sunshine, they'll send that out to you and let you know. They test it and make sure that it doesn't. So isn't that cool? Just because when you buy other stuff, those are questions you might have, but you might not have a person to ask. So for those of y'all who came in, what we're doing tonight, which we don't always do, is we're giving this a whirl. This is live on YouTube tonight, and we're trying it to see how it works. So yes, I have class every Tuesday night. And I want to tell you this too. Y'all know I have a radio show, right? Yes. It's on every Saturday from 3 to 4. Been doing radio and TV for over 25 years. This Saturday, my show got syndicated. Yay. And so it aired on 4 different radio stations instead of 1. Now it's just in Alabama right now, but the nation is to come. So I'm really, really, really excited. As I say to everybody, in the second 50 years of my life, that was my heart's desire. And I wanted it to line up with what God had in store for me too, the desires of his heart for me. But basically it did that Saturday. So if a person's in Jackson, Alabama, there's a station there airing my show live at the same exact time. It's the same show I'm doing here. And then a place called Monroeville. And both of those are southern, you know, getting closer to Mobile. And then a place called Jasper. Now, ERC that I'm on already airs in Jasper, but it doesn't go through Winston and Walker and all the counties up there. And that station does. So if you go to my website, rhondadial.com, you can see where it airs and how it does. Now, if y'all are not near a radio when the show is broadcasting live, because, you know, people call in and ask questions and all that, you can listen through a telephone if you have a smartphone and not a dumb phone, there's things called apps. And this app is free, and it's called iHeartRadio, and you might already have it downloaded. But if you go to that app and you go to Birmingham stations, the 105.5 WERC, you can click onto that and listen to me when it is airing live on Saturday. So you could be walking around the park or something and listen if you wanted to. Now, why you might listen is it's kind of like this. We're doing class tonight, which we do every Tuesday night. The subject's always different. It's always on the homepage of my website what the subject's going to be about. Tonight we're talking blood sugar, but when people call in on the radio, they're asking just all kind of questions, and you'll learn from what they ask. And or if you want to call in and ask a question yourself. So that's the way it works. And also, I have a lot of other stuff on YouTube. If you go to a Rhonda Dial channel on YouTube, I had a local TV show here on ABC 3340 for 3 months, and it was called True Health Today. So all of those, after they aired on TV, went straight to YouTube. So that's another way to learn. Now, they're not going to change it. They're going to be the same one, of course, but watch them one time, and maybe they'll help you. Okay? All right, this is what we usually do the first 30 minutes is take questions on any subject to see anything else of what we're not talking about tonight, because I don't like people to come to class and have a question and it not get answered. So has anybody thought of a question they want to ask that doesn't have anything to do with blood sugar?
What was the name of that fish oil you just said?
Super omega-3 is the fish oil that I mentioned, and it's a Nature Sunshine product, and it has omega-3 fish oil, and it also has DHA, which is a good fat for your brain. And then it also has lemon oil, so that, you know, because fish oil gel caps can be large sometimes, and people think, well, can I chew this up? And you actually can, and it doesn't taste like fish. It tastes like lemon. So that's pretty cool. Anybody else got a thought? Nope. Okay. If you think of some, holler. And we'll still, if y'all know class starts at 6 o'clock, but usually we don't get all the seats filled up to closer to 6:30 because people still come in. Well, yes, ma'am. Okay.
I just had some surgery,
and
I had some, as you know, back on summer, and had infection. I'm having no problems now because I'm taking Silver Shield and the other herbs. But they took me off the herbs before the surgery, and I haven't gone back on it. So should I come see you, talk to you about what I should redo again, or just start taking what I had before?
That is a really good question.
When I should add to?
Well, when you have surgery, you know, you've got anesthesia, your body's shifting and changing and all that. The brain changes, everything changes. So the question was, she was already taking supplements. Now, should she come back in and get rechecked to see what she needs now? Definitely. The body will shift and change. Nancy has a testimony about how anesthesia affects you, because when she had some anesthesia, she got a foot bath detox, and it was real different from the time frame when she had a foot bath before. It's real different. It can draw it out. And so basically,
it was the ugliest foot bath I ever saw.
So, you know, a foot bath detox where you put your feet in the water and it pulls toxins out through the pores of your skin, doing something like that can really help with what all you just went through. And then, yes, we need to do a new consult, check you out and see what you check out for now, because yes, it would have, I mean, your whole terrain of your body has changed. So, we can feel it for sure. Hey. Okay, does anybody else have another thought, question that doesn't have to do with blood sugar, which we're going to talk about tonight? All right. I want to tell you this. If you like education, which if you've come to class tonight, you like education. Next week, starting on Monday, Nature Sunshine will have an education week. So you go to NSP webinars, and you can see any of the past webinars that they've had, but you can go to Nature Sunshine's website, which is just naturesunshine.com, sign up for the education week, and they'll have times that they air live, and they give away stuff, which is awesome. So if you Register for it. The times that'll be airing is 12 noon our time, Central Time, and 8 p.m. So maybe the day works, maybe the evening works. If you say, I can't watch it at either one of those time frames, then you can watch the archived. And you can watch the archive from the past, so that might help you. Now, if you say, I don't have a computer, I'm not computer friendly, so I can't hear Education Week. You got a telephone? They do it on the telephone too. So you won't be able to watch the PowerPoint going on, but you can listen to it, and you'll learn from that as well. Okay? Now, anybody else got a question that does not have to do with tonight's subject on blood sugar? Everybody good? Okay. Now, so we're going to go ahead and start with blood sugar. Have I made all the announcements I think I need to tell people about? Okay.
Were you filming when you talked about your Monday night class?
I need to tell people that on Monday nights, if people want to do what I do and they would be interested in learning more about natural things and sharing it with other people, I teach a Monday night class, and that's at 5:30. We've gone on 2 Monday nights already, so this one will be the 3rd, but you can start up at any point. I also have Tuesday night here, 6 o'clock, subject varies. Next week, we're going to go over heart and circulation because it's Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day. And so I always teach on heart and blood flow and all that around that time of year. Yes.
I just want to let people know that this isn't being recorded tonight. It's just
live.
being broadcast. So don't be afraid to speak up. It's not like, you'll be recorded.
Well, all that's showing on this YouTube right now is me. Y'all are not showing up. That's why the lights are blinding me right this second.
Did you mention Tai Chi?
We've had a lady who's interested in Tai Chi classes, and we've been trying to, let her know that information and all that. Yes. And then, okay, so Monday nights is the class if you want to learn more about this and share the information. Tuesday night's class is here, different subjects. Thursday night, we have a weight loss class called Inform. That's at 5 o'clock. Now, there is a charge for the Inform class. Okay, so if you want to attend that 12-week weight loss class, you need to talk to me later and we'll go over that. And then Fridays are my travel day. So last Friday I was in Trustful, and the one time before that I was in Tuscaloosa. This Friday I'll be in Jasper. So if y'all know of anybody that lives in these towns, which are, an hour or 2 away, and they want to have a consult too, like y'all can have here, then just let them know that I'm going there. But they need to call where I'm going. Like Friday, I'll be at Enjoy Health Food. They need to call there and set up an appointment time frame, because I do work by appointment. If they're full up, then I can't do nothing about it. Okay. And then Saturday's when the radio show is. And the next Wednesday, I'll be on TV at 11:09 in the morning on Midday News. So if you want to watch that. Now, that's a quickie. That's a little 3-minute thing, but it's enough. Yeah. All right. It's enough. It makes phones ring, don't it? For sure thing. Okay. Anybody else got a thought or a question before we get to subject? Now, I didn't know how many people were going to be here, and I've already passed out some of these samples. So, Rebecca, do you mind everybody else that didn't get one passing those out? Now, what we're going to taste this evening is the powdery substance is a product called Swerve. And it basically is a low glycemic natural sweetener. And you can just punch in Swerve and go to it and read more about it, but it's low glycemic and it's erythritol, substance. And then we're also going to talk about xylitol. And so xylitol comes from Nature Sunshine, and the little pills that you see, or not real pills, but the little, they're little tiny like mints.
The pills, xylitol, what's the powder?
It's Swerve.
Okay.
That's the name of it. And so basically the xylitol that I have in there, those little mints, there's 2 different ones. One of them that's a little lighter in color is peppermint. The other one is lemon. Okay. Now, everyone is different. on what they like. The Swerve you can buy at the health food store, and of course this came from Earth Fare. And if you have blood sugar issues, this is one of your options. And then I also brought this right here because this is agave, and it also is mixed with some stevia and some low glycemic natural sweeteners. And so, you know, you can read here what it's talking about. It's a blend of agave, stevia, monk fruit is the 3 natural sweeteners that are in here. But it's low glycemic and it doesn't make your blood sugar go up and down. Now this one is a liquid thinner than honey, okay?
What did you say was in the Swerve?
It is a erythritol, and the other one is a xylitol. So they're a little different, but you can research it on the computer. The Nature Sunshine has the xylitol mint, gum, mouthwash, toothpaste, and all of those things are low glycemic. So diabetics can have them, or people that just have blood sugar problems, period. But the other thing is xylitol kills bacteria in your mouth and prevents tooth decay. And sugar is the opposite of that. So it's awesome. If you like the flavor, y'all can taste these now and see if you like the flavor of the peppermint or the lemon. And of course, if you don't like lemon or you don't like peppermint, then don't do them. But that's not the only flavors they have. They have a mint that's called berry mint, which is one of my favorites. And then they also have gum. They have cinnamon gum and peppermint gum and green tea gum. A lot of people are trying to lose weight, like to do the green tea and the green tea gum with the xylitol as the natural sweetener. Now, some of y'all may say, well, I have taken some gum in from a brand we've all heard of in the past, and it's got xylitol in it. I've seen it. I read the label. Guess what? It has aspartame and xylitol, which makes absolutely no sense.
Totally.
It's ridiculous because one is natural and one is artificial. Most people who are doing natural things are trying to avoid the artificial, and aspartame's the artificial. So, yes, they advertise, that gum company advertises that they have gum that has xylitol in it, but if you don't read the label, it's also got aspartame. So you really got to read the label. Why would you not want to have gum that had aspartame in it? Do you chew gum in your mouth and it's really, really close to your brain? And aspartame crosses the blood-brain barrier. And it's proven to cause the brain to swell and cause memory loss. So you can look it up, see what the side effects are. I don't want that in my body, and I really don't want it in my head next to my brain chewing aspartame gum. So xylitol's a much better way to go. And we do have different flavors of gum and different flavors of mint. Now, you can read about all these if you go to my website, rhondadial.com, click product list. When you do, an alphabet will pop up. And you can, xylitol starts with an X. So you can read about it, and you can click on any of the flavors that you might like or whatever it be and read up on them. Now, this one is coconut sugar. You can see it's not white. It's a brown color, but it is sweet tasting, and it is also low glycemic. Now, they also make coconut nectar, which I really like, and it's a liquid thicker than honey, but that's also low glycemic. So if you wanted a sweetener that was a liquid, if you wanted a sweetener that's more crystallized, you got options. Now, who has ever tried stevia? Now, some people don't like stevia because they say it is bitter. If you've ever tried stevia and it was bitter, it was because you got too much. That's the deal. You got too much. It's about 300 times sweeter than sugar, so it is very, very potent and just a little tiny bit. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I've heard of Truvia and all these other companies that have stevia, but they add a lot of fillers to it so that you can use more but still get a little bit, and that way it's not bitter. That's the whole purpose behind it. But I like to buy straight stevia myself. Now, this one is a liquid stevia, and it is flavored chocolate raspberry. Now, when I do a consult with people, you know, when I'm sitting there asking them all these questions, I'll say, do you like sweet things? Oh, I just love sweets. That's my problem. You know, when people say that to me, then I have that sitting on my desk, and I give them just a drop and let them taste it. And they go, oh, that is good. And then I'll say, well, you can use that in a glass of water to make lemonade or whatever it be. Or when you're just driving down the road and you just can't stand it some more and you want to have something sweet, if you have that with you, you can just put that in your mouth and it lasts. The flavor lasts for a long time in your mouth.
It's powerful.
It's very potent and powerful. Now, if you go, yuck, it's too sweet, well, you know, just use less of it. I'm just giving it to you straight. Okay. But some people really like it straight.
I went to find some of that
Yes.
at Earth Fair.
Yes.
The bottle was, it was less than $20, but it was
It's about
expensive.
15. Yeah.
Yeah. Does it last a while?
It does. I have shared this bottle with a good 20 people. And this bottle, it's still up to here. It looks like it's brand spanking new. Now, all I'm giving them is a drop.
Yeah.
But with the amount you would use, it would last a very long time. Yeah, it's about $15, but I think
And I didn't find that flavor there. So where did you get that?
I actually got it at Earth Fair.
Okay.
It's sitting there over where they have all the dried herbs and
Yeah.
supplements to the right there. But you might try Organic Harvest or Whole Foods in different places and see.
It was there with all the other sweeteners.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true.
Another good thing on this stevia is like I have a bottle like that,
Yes.
and since you don't use very much of it, it does last a long time. And like whenever you make a smoothie and you use a few drops to sweeten your smoothie, I've noticed that by putting like a pinch of sea salt in there, it cuts like that aftertaste.
That is a good suggestion. She said that she's putting some sea salt in there along with the stevia and can cut some of that aftertaste when she's making a smoothie. And you can add natural sweeteners to smoothies. Like this morning, I put kale, Swiss chard, spinach, the amount that I would have in a large salad, in the blender. And then I also put blueberries. Now, the blueberries change the color of it being green. And then if you wanted it to be a little sweeter still, now the blueberries are going to help it to not taste so green. But then if you wanted it to be sweeter still, now if you don't have blood sugar issues, you can add raw honey, and raw honey is a good thing. But if you have blood sugar issues, that is higher glycemic. Now, it's not as high as sugar, but it's about in the middle, where these things like the stevia and the coconut nectar and the coconut sugar that we've been sitting here talking about, xylitol, all of those things are very low glycemic. Like xylitol's glycemic index is around 9, so it's very low glycemic. And so you can add that if you need that sweetness to be in your smoothie, because we need the vegetables and we need the fruit. And a lot of times people are trying to get that in their smoothie, especially if they're trying to lose weight. Then if you do a smoothie, you put a protein powder in there too. And of course, I put the Love and Peas that Nature Sunshine has in there. And that has, here's what the Love and Peas looks like. And that has 20 grams of protein, and it is a vanilla flavor. So that's what was in my smoothie. I had my green things, and then I had the protein from the yellow pea, and then I had the blueberries, which was my fruit. And y'all know that blueberries are low glycemic, right? Berries, that type of fruit is not going to make your blood sugar go up and down like oranges or a banana. And see, a lot of people will add a banana to a smoothie, and that's okay. But if you have blood sugar issues, it's not okay, because oranges and bananas are high glycemic. And think about, let's say you're diabetic and you crash, your blood sugar goes down too low. What do they give you to get it back up? Orange juice, right? So oranges are going to make it go back up. So just be thoughtful. Those two fruits normally you would not use if you're trying to sustain proper blood sugar levels. What'd y'all think of those mints in the powder? What'd y'all think of it? Like it okay?
There was no aftertaste.
Excellent.
You use that the same way, can you bake with it?
I understand that you can bake with it, yes. So research it. It's not my area of expertise on the swerve. I can tell you a lot about xylitol, but you know, research it. Go on the website, check it out. But it is a low glycemic. So they're coming up with all kinds of low glycemic natural sweeteners. You know, the monk fruit's one of those now. The coconut sugar, the coconut nectar, the xylitol, the stevia. Agave is on the lower end. It's not the lowest, but it's on the lower end. So you've got a lot of choices nowadays. Leon?
Yeah, another thing too, you got where you're using stevia, fresh,
Right.
and then like the stevia gonna die down in the wintertime. So you get those leaves off, and they're dry, and then you take care of those dry leaves. You take a little piece of cheesecloth, you put a piece of steel tape around it, tie it up, and drop it in whatever you want to get sweetened up, and just cook them.
That works. That is great.
And then just take the cheesecloth out, squeeze it, throw it away.
The fresh stevia does grow here in the state of Alabama. Now, not all herbs grow in Alabama, but that one does. So yes, you can have it fresh during the season, and then the rest of the time dry it, make a tea out of it, or just grind it up a little bit. It doesn't take much. I mean, one leaf can do a lot, because when you dry an herb, it has 4 times more food value than when if it's fresh. Okay, so no, it's more like concentrated. So if y'all like to grow things, try growing some stevia this season, which is fixing to come up in the springtime. Be thoughtful about that. Might be something fun to do, because it really tastes good.
You said you knew more about xylitol. Is that a one-on-one substitution with sugar?
Xylitol falls into, it's much stronger than white sugar would be, but you don't have to use that much of it. Play around with it,
Okay.
Start slow and add up. Now, it doesn't work in everything, but it works with a lot of different.
Okay.
Rebecca?
The xylitol is hard to dissolve in cold.
Yes, works better in the
It
warm.
works better in hot, like if you're doing hot tea or something like that. But it's hard to dissolve in cold, especially if you're, like the convenience of the Splenda was, you could just pour it in your iced tea.
Right, and it would dissolve.
And it would dissolve. But this is like, it's worse than sugar. It just won't dissolve
Right.
at all. So
Give it some time, but the
you make a
warmth
syrup
can help.
out of it or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can, with stevia, with xylitol, like she said, you can make a syrup kind of thing out of it. And a lot of people are going that direction as well. And then use it more in recipes. Because like, if you want to make cookies using stevia, doesn't work very well because the increments don't work out well. But if you were to make more of a syrup, put it in water, and then add that to it, then that works more as a natural sweetener. And another sweetener that you might consider is circonat, and then you might also consider brown rice syrup. Those are also on the lower, not the lowest, but on the lower end of the spectrum, and a lot of people see benefit from using those. So play around with it. If you do have literal diabetes, check your blood sugar after eating certain things, just see how your body responds to it. Now, talking about all these low glycemic natural sweeteners, if you have low blood sugar, they're also going to be beneficial to you because you don't want your blood sugar to go up and down, high or low, whatever you kind of stay in, you want to stay balanced. Because if your blood sugar stays balanced, you're more apt to maintain proper weight. You're more apt to maintain proper pH. You know, you can check the pH of your urine and saliva yourself. We have pH strips. You spit on one, urinate on a different one. They turn a color matches the number on the chart. Checking your pH 3 times a week, 3 times a day for a week.
So
That can give you an idea of proper pH balance.
Can you tell the reasons why it's good to have your pH balance?
A lot of reasons why you want to keep your pH balance. There's tons of them, but basically your body will uptake proper nutrition. I have pH brochures, and this is going to be a class coming up soon, but it goes into, in this brochure, about calcium if you want the calcium to be in your structural system, your bones, because it's very alkaline, if your body, your urine and saliva are too acidic, the calcium will be used as a buffer and not be going into your structural system where you want it to be. So you could eat this big spinach salad that had all this calcium in it, but because your pH is too acidic, maybe you ate that big spinach salad with a Coke, which is 2.4 on the pH scale, very acidic, then, it's not going into your structural system where you want it to be. That's one reason. Another reason is it's got a chart inside this little booklet that shows the fine line of balance where iodine uptakes into the bloodstream. So your pH has to be in between 6.3 and 6.6 in that fine line of balance to uptake iodine. Now, how many people do you know of that take Synthroid and have a thyroid condition? We all know somebody, right? So basically, if that's a really bad problem, a lot of people have a thyroid imbalance. If they kept their pH balanced out and they would uptake iodine better, which that's going to help to feed that thyroid, we wouldn't have so much of a problem. I do believe that. So I think keeping proper pH for just that one reason, along with a lot of other things, but weight loss and all kinds of other things. You'll hear about yeast overgrowth, and so many people have overgrowth of yeast. They're having bacterial infections. They're having all this stuff go on in their body. If you keep the pH in the body balanced, yeast is not going to grow and multiply the way it's supposed to, or doesn't a lot of people. There's also a lot of research about cancer cells growing and multiplying when your pH is out of balance. So it's less likely to do that when the pH is properly balanced in the body. But the cool thing about pH is you can check it yourself. You can get those pH strips and check it yourself and keep it properly balanced. Now, what if it is too acid? What do? You eat more alkaline producing foods. Now, what are those? Well, that's why we have those blood type charts in the office. It tells you which foods are alkaline acidic producing for the different blood types that people are. And it also tells them beneficial, neutral, and avoid for their blood type. So there's validity to that as well. But the neat thing about it is you control it. You're doing something about it. You're taking actions. Nancy?
So the reason that we don't want to eat white sugar is because it creates inflammation.
White sugar does create inflammation, but it also is high glycemic.
Right. So my question is, so cancer, sugar will grow cancer.
Right. Feed it.
Feed it. So these low glycemic things, will they do the same thing?
They do not feed the cancer. Right. So sugar, because it's so acidic, causing inflammation.
Okay. So but what about sugar from, again, oranges and bananas and other fruits?
If your blood sugar is balanced out, you eat enough properly balanced sugars and foods, you can have a banana and orange occasionally. It's not going to create an issue. But a lot of people, when I say, do you eat fruit? They say, oh, I eat bananas and oranges all the time. I put those in my smoothie every day. And I'm like, oh my gracious. They're doing too much of something that's okay, but they're doing way too much of it. And it's making the blood sugar go up and down. And what I always say, what comes up must come down. And if those are high glycemics, they're going to make the blood sugar go up. And so then it's going to.
So my smoothie this morning had chard.
Swiss chard and
a very small apple and 3 strawberries.
Excellent.
Somebody was like, that's too much sugar.
No,
Like,
no,
it was
that's
3
not.
small, little tiny apple.
Not too much sugar.
Yeah.
And strawberries are not going to cause the issue, and apples are not going to cause an issue. So if you have a cup, like a small apple, you cut it all up, core it out, put it in that cup. Handful of strawberries, put it in there. That's still a cup. It's not more than a cup of fruit. So if you have a cup of fruit a day, that is not going to be too much fruit sugar in a day if you're trying to lose weight, proper balance.
You know what was strange? I don't eat a lot of fruit, but after my surgery, I wanted an apple. Like I could just go raw to the grocery store and buy one. Is there a reason my body was wanting that apple?
Well, the apple is, apple a day, yes. The apple is nutritious. And when you have gone through surgery and all that, you may have skipped a few meals, during that time frame. You may have, just the body has gotten out of balance. And so your body will crave the good things that's going to feed it. Yep. And if we're sensitive to our body like that, it really helps a lot just to pay attention to an apple was made by God and you were made by God and your body knows exactly what to do with that apple. Knows how to turn it into fuel and energy. Because a lot of people will avoid carbohydrates and things because they'll say, well, you know, those are sugar, but carbohydrates of the complex type of carbohydrates, not a simple carbohydrates, where we actually will get our energy from, you know, and depending on how you burn it. Now, you do need to walk and exercise and all that kind of stuff, but and a lot of that plays the role on how many calories you're going to eat and what kind of carbs you're going to put into your body is, are you burning it up? Are you exercising? Are you working? Or are you just sitting on the couch watching TV? So pay attention to that. I wanted to show one other food thing tonight. This is, yeah.
How about beans?
Zinc?
Beans.
Beans. You know, you've heard beans and rice, specifically brown rice, make a complete protein, right? You heard that before? Because like a lot of vegetarians, they'll put beans and rice together to make their protein because they're not doing meat.
Yeah.
So they are a good protein. Now, certain beans you break down and digest better than others, and you do want to be taking enzymes because beans are usually cooked, right?
Yeah.
Now, I had some beans today that were not cooked. I had sprouted anasazi, green peas, and lentils. They were sprouted. So I had them with my salad. They are so good. Now, I don't need enzymes when I eat that because they're alive. They have enzymes. Live food has enzymes. But we cook those beans and a lot of things change. So if you take the enzyme leguzyme, helps you digest beans and cruciferous vegetables and things like that. Now, that's in our enzyme formulas that we have, like our proactozyme and our food enzymes. They have that leguzyme in there to help you break down and digest those kinds of foods. Because, you know, a lot of people eat beans and they have gas.
Is beans going to raise the blood sugar or is...
Typically, beans are not going to raise your blood sugar, no. Now, this right here is cinnamon. Have y'all ever heard that cinnamon could help with your blood sugar levels? Okay, so that's all over everything, right? Everybody's, you know, sniffing it and doing all kinds of stuff. Now, I don't recommend that, but at the same time frame, did you know there's more than one kind of cinnamon? So the one that is spelled Ceylon, Ceylon, I don't know. I'm not good at pronouncing. It is different smelling and tasting. Ceylon. Now, this is not something I sell. Okay, you go to the health food store. This is really the cinnamon that's supposed to be used for that endocrine system rather than the other kind of cinnamon that we all have in our spice rack. See, I also don't really want to use that cinnamon in my spice rack because when's the last time you bought cinnamon for your spice rack? Have you had it since you got married? If we were to take a poll, I bet some of y'all do have had it for a while. So things like that, sometimes they have MSG, sometimes they're really old, the potency of them is gone. Now, we have products in Nature Sunshine that do have cinnamon extract in it, like our sugar regulator, that Sugar Reg's got that in it, along with some other herbs. And it's not the same thing as the spice that you have in your spice rack. Okay, so this one's different. It does, I'll be glad to pass it around if y'all want to smell it, because it smells a little different. You know, it's not that same. Here you go.
The cinnamon extract that's in the Nature Sunshine, is it the same as that?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I know it affects your blood sugar positively, so I would say probably so.
You know, it smells like there's sugar in it.
Yeah, but it's not, right?
Right.
Just the straight stuff.
The other cinnamon is hotter, and it smells like it's been diluted with sugar.
If you put the cinnamon, when I bought that, I put the regular cinnamon and that cinnamon together, and I was like, oh yeah, man, you can tell the difference there.
Can I ask another sugar question?
Sure.
What is it? Turbinado sugar? What is
Turbinado?
Turbinado. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
It falls into coming from the sugar cane.
So,
But
like
it's
white
not
sugar.
as processed as white sugar. White sugar is way over here, been fiddled with by man
But if you're,
boo-poodles of
if you're
time.
looking for low glycemic, it wouldn't be.
It's
white.
not low
And-
glycemic. Turbinado is not low glycemic, but in my opinion, it is better than just plain white sugar, just white cane sugar, but it's still
The smoothie places use turbinado.
true. Better than, it's a little better. Not a lot, a little better, but it is not low glycemic. So if you have blood sugar issues, high or low, and that's something you're struggling with, I would not do turbinado.
What do you think about the monk fruit?
The monk fruit is considered low glycemic, so that'd be a better way to go. And the one I showed a while ago, the liquid that had the blend of stevia and monk fruit and what was in it? This one right here. And it also has agave. So that's all in there. Mhm. So I'll pass those around if you want to. Now, this is a product called Sugar Egg, and this is a Nature Sunshine product that supports the endocrine system, specifically more your pancreas. So it's going to have a combination. It's got the germanium, the bitter melon. It's also got the nopal. And so it falls into chromium. A lot of people use chromium, that mineral, and chromium GTF. GTF stands for glucose tolerance factor. So it's not the chromium picolinate, okay? Those are two different. They're both chromium, but they're a little different. So I like the GTF chromium. And you can use that whether your blood sugar falls into high or low categories, because it's going to bring balance. And that's what it's all about, is trying to bring balance. Because I know a lot of people, when I do consults with them, they're on medicine for diabetes, but they end up having low blood sugar a lot. So you're just really trying to keep it balanced. We have the nopal singly as well, and we've had a lot of testimonies about nopal helping to keep things very balanced.
What about brown sugar?
Now, that's a good question. Brown sugar is white sugar sprayed with molasses. Now, white sugar, like we said, we're trying to stay away from that. Molasses, if you've ever gone out like to Homestead Holler in Springville when they're putting the sugar cane in there, molasses is one of the first things that, that dark molasses. And I actually like molasses, and I take molasses quite often because it's very rich in minerals, very high in iron and things like that. Now, it's not been put through all the processes. So I think that's better for you. But when you take the brown sugar and you're just putting the molasses on the white sugar, it tastes good, but it's still going to be higher glycemic, yes.
Hey, Rhonda, if you got some of this, so if you had like diabetes, would you put this in capsules and take that much, or would you just use this to start putting on your food?
The cinnamon powder is usually used to either sprinkle on things or in drinks, like put it in your hot chocolate or whatever, put it in stuff, or, make us, like you were talking about making a smoothie, cinnamon in a smoothie. You wouldn't, I don't think you'd really need as much as a capsule. Now, you could do that, but I don't think most people, I just think they would use it as a seasoning or a spice, but it being beneficial.
So so this lowers, or does it make it balance?
It's bringing balance. Mm-hmm.
The Mediterranean culture uses cinnamon on their beef.
On their beef?
Beef.
Wow.
It is wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It tastes so good.
Really good, yes.
Do they do that in Africa too?
Mm-hmm.
Cinnamon's
Put
all-
cinnamon on beef?
I do myself.
You do?
Oh, yeah. When I cook
Huh.
it, yeah.
It's also supposed to be an aphrodisiac.
Okay. That we'll talk about next week in the Valentine's Day. We'll talk about cinnamon. Okay, cool jets.
I put cinnamon in my beans too.
In your beans, cinnamon in the beans. Now, I've heard that helps to keep them from being so gassy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Falls into that category.
Yeah.
How much, like if you were making a pot of beans that might be a cup of beans in water, how much cinnamon might you add?
You don't cook with You don't
Oh.
cook it.
You're not doing it while it's boiling.
No, you just after
Thank you, my dear.
It's done.
Mm-hmm.
I just spray because sometimes my kids they don't like it.
Okay.
I just spray on my plate.
Okay. After
Yeah.
it's done and then put it on there. Okay. Cool, Jess. Now, I had also heard years ago of putting ginger on meat because that helped your body to break down and digest it better. You know, I had heard that as
Yeah,
well.
when
So
you put ginger in meat, it make tender.
makes it more tender.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, when I cook my beans, I put ginger and garlic.
Okay.
I put on it. It smells good.
It does.
It's good.
And those, you know, they're medicinally good for you, but it also tastes really good. Now, it's not what you maybe are used to doing with your meat or your beans or whatever it be, but give it a whirl and try it. You know, my palate has always been so bland. Like, I love avocados with nothing else. Everybody puts salsa and all this other junk. I like them plain because I love plain stuff. But, you know, our taste buds change every 7 years. I teach that in my need to continue to try new things because your taste buds change and now you might like it. And basically, I have started putting ginger, fresh ginger root. You know, I bought the ginger root and I'll just break a little piece off of it. And I've been putting it in my smoothie. I've been putting it in all kinds of food that I've been making. And I really like, that's been my new food, you know, is putting ginger in stuff. And I really like it. But ginger is a little bit hot, just a little bit. Now, it's not like cayenne pepper or nothing, but it's a little bit warming. But it heats up that digestive system and aids in digestion of a lot of your foods and stuff. So in my second 50 years, I think heating up my digestion is a good thing.
It's good in salad too.
In salad, yeah.
Ginger, just like little
Slivers of it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Very
good. Yes, Pat.
Talk about the Nature Sunshine product, Sweet X, is it?
Yes, Nature Sunshine has a product called Sweet FX. Now, that product helps you not to crave the sweet things so much if that's your problem. Now, that's not everybody's problem, but if you just say, "Ooh, if I could just stop eating sugar, I'd be fine," and I know you told me not to, but I still just crave it, then you might look into that product. And, of course, you can read about what's in it, rhondadial.com, click on product list, go to S.
Or would you take it on a daily basis?
If you needed it on a daily basis. Now, if you say, well, I only crave it at certain times of the month, then just take it certain times of the month or whatever it be. But yes, you could take it on a daily basis. And if that is your one thing holding you back from losing weight, then that's what you need to do. For sure. Now, I wanted to talk to y'all about spirulina. Now, this is one of my favorite herbs, and spirulina is about 71% protein, and it's plant-based, not animal-based. So it's in your bloodstream fast. You know, like a hamburger's protein, right? But it takes a long time for transit time for that to get in your bloodstream and turn into giving you the protein, build lean muscle mass, all that. But spirulina gets in your bloodstream very quickly. A lot of these people that like to work out and they want to do protein to help with their muscle mass, they will take spirulina, and this is in a capsule, and most people take about 2 capsules at a time right before they're fixing to work out, and it really, really does help. And I have young boys that I go to church with that'll play football, and they'll be a little bit tubby to start off with. But they like football, and they're going to run it off. But if they take this, it has helped a lot of them to build that lean muscle mass and reduce the fat. And it sustains your blood sugar level for a straight 4 hours because it is protein. That's what protein does, is sustain your blood sugar level. So eating cereal in the morning is not going to keep your blood sugar balanced. Eating oatmeal in the morning is not going to keep your blood sugar balanced. But eating protein could. So your yogurts, your meats, your, salmon patty if you want to eat it or whatever it be, something that's got protein will help sustain that blood sugar level. Not eating breakfast. That ain't good. People say, well, I've stopped eating because I wanted to lose weight. That's not the way to do it, especially if you have blood sugar problems, because you need food for your fuel. So spirulina could help you. You know, when I started using the spirulina, I used to be a hairdresser before I was an herbalist. I've been an herbalist 33 years, but before that, I cut hair. You don't always get to eat when you cut hair. Somebody's always there going, I'm on my lunch hour and in a really big hurry. I need you to cut my hair real fast. Well, this is my lunch hour too, but got to cut hair. You're working. So I would take spirulina to keep my blood sugar balanced until I could eat. So it could be your friend. Read about it on my website if you want to. The other one is if a person, the blood sugar is always going up and down, so it's not always high, not always low, it's going up and down. Target P14 has 14 different herbs that target the pancreas specifically, so it does have herbs that are historically used more for low blood sugar, and it has herbs that are historically used more for high blood sugar. So it has a combination of both of those, so it's bringing balance in the body. So this could be very helpful with that person. See, when I was growing up, I was diagnosed with blood sugar issues when I was 8. First time I ever passed out, because that was my symptom. I passed out daily. First time I ever passed out and realized I had a problem, I was on the USS Alabama in Mobile. And I fell and hit my head. And that steel's pretty hard. Maybe my head's harder. I didn't burst open or nothing. But at the same time frame, I realized I had blood sugar problems. And from that day on, I started passing out. And I had, had to go to the doctor and do this diet. Oh, my gosh. That many years ago, finding a protein bar. All they had that was a protein bar was a Diet Slender bar. That's all they had. Y'all remember those? I mean, it had, a nasty taste. Yes, Snickers. But there are a lot of different things you can do now compared to what we used to have. And so consider what makes blood sugar go up and down that you're eating. Okay.
What is that product name?
Target P is in pan, standing for pancreas, 14 the number. So Target P14.
Hey, Rhonda, my little girl's 8, and she's kind of had some spells with low blood sugar. She'll get shaky. And, I mean, we eat a good bit of protein, and we eat on schedule and stuff. So I was going to bring her up here so you could check her out and see what she thought, because I think it's happened about 3 times now.
Okay.
It's usually when she wakes up in the morning.
Okay. So if you're real shaky like that when you wake up in the morning, then you want to look at what did we eat for supper last night. And it might be helpful for her to do some protein right before she goes to bed. Now, not eat a meal, but maybe eat a few spoonfuls of yogurt or something that will help keep her balanced through the night. Because a lot of people, their blood sugar does drop through the night. It can even wake you up. Your blood sugar get too low, it'll wake you up, you can't sleep. So it can give you nightmares, yeah. So you really want to pay attention to that, possibly doing a little bit of protein. Now, yes, we're not supposed to eat right before we go to bed. I teach that all the time, but some people do need that protein closer to bedtime to help sustain them through the night. And the spirulina could do that. Now, if spirulina kept her awake, we wouldn't do that because it does give some people energy, but with just balance in blood sugar level, it might not.
I thought I heard you say one time you did licorice.
Now, licorice root falls more into if your blood sugar is very, very low category, more in the hypoglycemia direction. And licorice root is not licorice candy, but licorice root, the herb. And it's historically used to feed more in the low category than the high category, but it feeds those adrenal glands too. And even though we're talking the pancreas, with the blood sugar, the adrenal glands are also part of the endocrine system, so it can play a role, possibly. So we're sitting here talking about balance in blood sugar, but we may also want to look at her adrenals. If she sticks her tongue out and the tip end is redder than the rest of the tongue, that can be an indicator that we want to pay attention to those adrenals.
Should I try to check? I know it was her pupils.
And if the pupils are more dilated than they should be, and then if you shine a light in the eye and the pupils don't go down to real tiny, they stay big, or if they go down and then they come back up, that can be indications that we need to pay attention to adrenals.
I'll check that and we'll do protein.
Yeah, we can check her out and see. That sounds good. Pat, did you have, okay. Anybody else got a question?
Yeah, you got one.
Okay.
Is it any point where herbs become toxic?
Okay, or is there any point where herbs become toxic? That is a good question. Now, herbs are plants. God made them. But you can make anything bad by doing too much of it. So most herbs would not hurt you to take a dosage, maybe once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, of what you're supposed to do. So look at the bottle, see what it says, that kind of thing. But if somebody wanted to take the whole bottle, now most people are not going to do that because they paid money for that and that's wasting it. But if they did, then that could make a good thing bad. So yes, if you did too much of it, it could, but why would we do that most of the time? So I always teach moderation in all things, but most of it's like water. People are always saying to me, because I teach drink water, and that's why I'm always reaching back here and taking my sip. I always start off with a full 16-ounce glass. By the time I teach class, is down to the bottom.
That's another question.
But if you drink too much water at one time, it can kill you. If you go a gallon, drink a whole bunch of water at one time, but sipping on it throughout the day, you can never get too much. Now, what's your other question?
Well, actually, some little young athletes just did that, drank gallons of water.
Yeah. It washes all the minerals out of the body if they drink too much at one time.
That was back in the summer. But the other thing is, along the same line, if you combine, so like, say you give somebody a consult and they got to take balance, it's different.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Combinations or whatever. Other, do you know which combination goes together where it wouldn't be toxic?
That is a great question. You've been thinking on this stuff. That's a good question too.
Everything you make bad. So I'm just
true. So yes, when you do a consult, like when I'm checking people out, I see what deficiencies show up and we pay attention to the different systems. So let's say you know you have circulation issues, okay? You went to the store and you heard COQ10 was good, and you heard hawthorn was good, and you heard capsicum was good, and you heard L-arginine was good, and you just went down the list and you bought everything because they was all circulation, and you've got a circulation issue, so you bought all the stuff you heard about for circulation. Now all of a sudden you got 20 different things. You don't need 20 different things. 1 or 2 will make it happen. Okay. Now you might take 1 or 2 for a little while, like 3 months, and every 90 days we get new red blood cells, so the body shifts, and then those take out of that 20 you got by, take another 2 and do that for a little while. And I always say you get all the goodie out of it after a little while, and it's good to shift to something else. The body changes in what it needs. So basically, if you took too many herbs for the same problem, could it be bad? Yes. But that's usually not the way I do a consult. I look at, okay, the circulation needs to be fed, the immune system needs to be fed, the intestinal system needs to be fed. So we go down the deficiency areas, because you do have some areas that are perfect. They don't need nothing. But the areas of deficiency, pay attention to that. 1 or 2 things for that area. Like if I'm doing digestion, we might do a digestive enzyme. But then if you don't have a gallbladder, we're going to have to add that extra high lipase because you don't have a gallbladder, and help you break down and digest those fats. So, you know, we might have 2 in that category, but most of the time 1 or 2 for a category, and then it's all nice and balanced.
That makes sense. You're just going by system. So
yes.
It won't conflict.
That's right.
You're all going in and doing whatever you're supposed to do.
Yep. I'm glad you're thinking that way, though. I really am, because that's what you'll get asked those questions at some time or another by another thinking person. Now, some people don't think. They follow instructions. They're like a little robot walking around. That's all they do is do what somebody tells them to do. But I have always been like you. I have always thought about it more than I probably should. I drove my parents crazy by going, why sky blue? Why did we do this? Why did we do that? Because a lot of people just want to say, hush, do what I said. But if you think about it, then you get the answer, then you understand it. It's easier for you to then explain it to people, because people will want to know those answers. I have gotten over the years, oh my gracious me, I've gotten asked some questions, and I'll tell you if I don't know the answer to it. I was working with this lady one time that was a medical doctor, and she had MS. Did a consult on her, and she tested for alfalfa. Her question was, what's alfalfa? And I said, what's a plant, and the cows eat it, and it's very rich in minerals. She goes, what's in it? And I said, it's just alfalfa, nothing's in it. And she goes, what is it made up of? And I was like, I have no idea. It's just alfalfa. That's all I knew to say. But I have a, yeah, it's green and roots go deep. I didn't know, I knew a little bit, but I didn't know like what she wanted to know because she had that scientific mind that really needed to know. Now I got a book. I found this book. And you open it up and it tells you alfalfa has this much magnesium, this much phosphorus, this much potassium. It goes in all the minerals and how much exactly. That was what you wanted to know. So you'll get asked these questions. Now, this is my library back here, and I got, 50 million books back here. These are not for sale. Now, people do check them out sometime and borrow them, and if you're going to do that, we got to write your name down and all that kind of good stuff, but that's my personal library. The reason I don't sell them is most of them cost 25 to 50 cents at a yard sale, because that's where I got most, not all of those books, but a lot of those books. But that's just my stuff, and when people ask me a question, I know I can go back to those books and research stuff, because I do know a lot of stuff in my head, but occasionally, like when that lady came up with that question, I don't know, because I had never thought that far into it. Okay, somebody, Kelly?
Hey, okay, how much water is too much? How much should you drink? And how can you drink it to not go to the bathroom all the time?
Okay, that's a good question. How much water is too much? It has to do with taking your body weight, halving it. That's perfect. But then if you drink any coffee, tea, soda, or alcohol, those things dehydrate. So let's just say you weigh 150 pounds. Half of that is 75. That's how many ounces I need if I drink nothing else but water. But then if I drank a cup of coffee that's 8 ounces, I would have to add 8 ounces to that 75. If I drank 8 ounces of tea, I'd have to have another 8 ounces. And now I got a total of 16 that I've dehydrating with that. Have to add 16 to the 75. Y'all see where I'm going with that. So I usually ask people if they're drinking coffee, tea, soda, or alcohol. Number one, I tell them soda's not your friend because God didn't make it. There was no such thing as a soda plant in the Garden of Eden, so it's not your friend. But the rest of them, then I'll say, let's do moderation. Because some people will drink 32 ounces of coffee and 32 ounces of tea. And sometimes the tea is green tea, and they'll go, but green tea is good for you. And I'm like, yeah, but 32 ounces is not needed. That's, in my opinion, too much of a good thing. And coffee, yeah, it helps you go poopy. That's good, but 1 cup does it. You don't have to have 32 ounces to do that. So do the moderation of the good things, get all your water in you that you need, having to do with your body weight, and then you want to look at sipping it. That's why I demo that much water that I just took, a swaller, is not going to fill up my bladder. That's a sprinkle like on a plant. Sprinkle the plant, not dump the bucket of water on it. If you sprinkle it in you, that won't fill up your bladder. If I drank all 16 ounces all at one time, I'd have to go tinkle in the next 30 minutes for sure thing, maybe even before that, because that's too much. The bladder won't hold that much liquid, and nobody's bladder holds that much liquid. And if you're dehydrated, it really don't hold that much liquid. I use the example of, this is not exactly the size of the bladder, but let's pretend you're not hydrated. And I worked with people all this week that told me they drink 0 to 1 bottle of water and they needed a whole lot more than that. So they're dehydrated. So the bladder's all shriveled up tiny because you're dehydrated. And if you get hydrated, then the bladder holds more urine than it would if you were dehydrated. So you'll pee less the more water you drink if you sip it and not drink a whole lot at one time. But it doesn't happen in the first week you do this process because it takes about 3 weeks to hydrate the bladder. And I use the analogy of you get a glass of water and you know that a raisin used to be a grape. So drop the grape down in, the raisin down in the water. It doesn't just pop up and become a grape again. It takes time for that to reconstitute. So the bladder and these organs in our body are going to do the same thing. They don't just automatically be hydrated in a day. Give it time. But if you give things 30 days, you'll see radical change. Yes, ma'am.
How many times for health person have to go pee?
Well, that all depends on the urinary system, how often you need to eliminate. But the thing you want to know is you shouldn't have to go tinkle at nighttime. Once you go to sleep, you should be able to sleep all night long without having to go tinkle if that urinary system is functioning properly. And I have given birth to 4 kids, and women always use that for an excuse. But basically, you want to strengthen that urinary system, and a lot of people, it's not very strong. So in a man, you want to strengthen prostate, and in women, you want to look at the kidneys and the bladder. And of course, you might want to look at that in guys too. But we have a product called Equilibrium that supports that prostate, and it has clinical studies with it. I got a guy that's a chiropractor. He is 84 years old, and he saw improvement with his urination at night. And if it can help an old guy, it can help a younger guy. Also, you know, there's herbs like corn silk and uva ursi, all kind of things that support that urinary system that we can take to help where we don't have to go at night. Now, usually with me, myself, I go about every 4 or 5 hours, something like that, in the daytime before my bladder is full. But I drink about 1 gallon of water a day. Now, I don't have to for my body weight, but that's just what I ended up doing. Because basically, if I drink 16 ounces every 2 hours, which I do the math. I'm awake at least 16 hours a day, sleep 8. That's 24, right? So a pint every 2 hours, that's 1 gallon, right? So, but you do need to understand that's pretty much all I ever drink, pretty much.
Well, a gallon is 128 ounces.
It is 128 ounces a gallon, yep. So more is better, less is not acceptable on your body weight. Because a lot of people, when I do a consult, I ask, you know, how much they weigh and are you drinking that amount of water and da-da-da-da, and they'll say close to it. I get that answer a lot. Close to it is not on it. So we want to be on it or more. But y'all know we live in Alabama, and right now we're not sweating like a booger bear because it's not hot out there. But goodness gracious, when it gets spring and summer and all that, all you have to do is go outside and break a sweat because it's so hot and humid and all that. So we need more water when you're sweating. And so a lot of people will say, well, at the gym, I drink a lot more water than that. But you notice when you're at the gym and you're doing the elliptical or whatever you're doing and you're sweating, you can drink a lot of water and not really need to go tinkle because you're sweating. Your skin is acting like a third kidney, right? So think about that if you exercise, you need even more water than that amount we're talking about. Or if you have a job where you work outside or sweat or whatever it be. Everybody's different. If you clean houses and all that and you're sweating. So take it into consideration. See, let me tell you why I drink a lot more water, and this is my reason. Have y'all ever noticed that I talk 24/7?
No.
I talk all the time. I talk when I teach classes. I taught 4 classes last week. Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night. So I talk. And when you talk, you can't see it. It's not freezing cold in here, but if it was freezing cold, you could see my breath, right? Yeah. So moisture is coming out when I talk. So I need the water to hydrate. Because if you try to talk as much as I do, man, you get thirsty fast. For sure. Now, let's go into dietary things for blood sugar for a minute, okay? Have you ever heard that there's certain foods that turn into glucose? Mm-hmm. So let's go over what those might be. Potatoes. Now, I want you to write this down, okay? Potatoes. Well, we're going to get specific about that in a minute. So potatoes, rice, pasta, bread, and corn. Now write those down. Now, to the side of all those, I want you to put sweet where potatoes are. And I want you to put brown where it says rice. And then where it says bread and pasta, I want you to put whole grain. And then where it says corn, I want you to put yellow, blue, and red. Because of those, the ones we just talked about are the colored.
What did you say, pasta?
Pasta is whole grain. Because see, all of those you could eat white. white potatoes, white rice, white pasta, white bread, white corn. And those are higher in glycemic, and if you put sweet potato on there, sweet potato has more fiber than a white potato, and it introduces itself into the bloodstream slower, so it doesn't make the blood sugar go up and down so much. Now, with what you wrote down, those things I said are better than choices. So a sweet potato is better than a white potato, having to do with blood sugar, and brown rice better than white rice. You know, white rice used to be brown, took all the bran and fiber off of it, now it's white. But in all of those things, you still want to limit your intake. If you have blood sugar issues, you want to limit your intake of those things I just said to 3 times a week. Many people eat those 3 times a day. And if you have blood sugar challenge, that could be your problem.
Did you just say those 3 times a week?
Yeah.
The good kind?
Yeah.
I mean, the bad kind, I can only do 3 times a week.
Good or bad. You don't want to do them more than 3 times a week, because if you do, it's going to change your blood sugar too much. It impacts it too much. So even the good ones, of like sweet potato, you don't want to eat it every day and too much and all that.
Should we be conscious of serving size?
Serving size is also what you want to be conscious of. You know, a serving size may be about the size of a deck of cards in that general vicinity, a handful, whatever it be, depending on what you're talking about. But basically, not too much of it, not too many times a day, and like I say, 3 times a week if you have blood sugar challenges.
That's 3 times a week for.
Not for each of them or one of them. So let's say you have, let's say you have spaghetti, okay? We're doing the whole grain pasta and the spaghetti, and let's say you do that on Monday. And then let's say on Wednesday, you're going to do a sweet potato with some other vegetables, okay? And then on Saturday, you're going to do bread. You're going to have a sandwich, okay? Whole grain. But that's all you can do that week.
So meat, vegetables, and some fruit.
Meat, vegetables, and some fruit. And those things we talked about. Like, I love sweet potato French fries. If I went out to eat and they had sweet potato French fries, I'm going to order them. They're good. But I wouldn't eat that and rice, or that and spaghetti, or that and, you know, the other.
Bread that they bring you at the table.
The bread. Now, see, I used to love bread. I said, oh my gosh, I had toast in the morning. I'd have a grilled cheese sandwich at lunch. I'd have bread with my dinner at night. I never thought I could give that up. But once you just do, I don't even want the bread, but it's what you get used to doing. If you ever give something up for long enough, you won't crave it anymore. And sugar falls into that category too. Yes, ma'am.
What about some people's claims that we shouldn't eat those grains, potatoes, corn, because so much of it is GMO stuff today?
Genetically modified is what a lot of things are that we just talked about. True. You can't get rid of it 100% in your diet. I mean, you could, but I mean, I don't think most people in this room could get rid of it 100%. But usually I don't eat corn unless it says on the package or whatever it be that it's not genetically modified, and 95% of it is. So, I mean, you have to be very, very particular. And corn is in a lot of stuff, not everything, but it is. And see, if we don't eat the processed stuff, it's not gonna be like, if I do grass-fed beef, corn is not in my beef. But if I buy regular beef, corn was given to that cow, and that corn was genetically modified 99% of the time. So yeah, it's in a lot of stuff, but it don't have to be, depending on what you pick. So it is something we should be aware of, but just try to do your best on what you can, and read labels on everything. And not just, as I was saying, like with that cranberry, not just the front side, read the back side too. Read everything. When you're buying a supplement, you want to read, like a multiple vitamin, you want to read what it has in it. It's got this much vitamin A and this much vitamin E, da, 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 da. But go down to the bottom and there's a paragraph that says other ingredients. That's where the stuff is. That's where the dye that they think you care what color that tablet is. That's where the fillers and the sugars. I mean, I had a lady bring in a supplement that she was taking from somewhere else, and it was vitamin C, and it had aspartame in it. Aspartame and vitamin C. I was like, oh my goodness. So you have to read these labels, because of course she would have never purchased it if she had known, but she didn't read the label and see, and it said the word just right there. You know, a lot of people never read what they're taking, because especially commercials, they're really good at saying, this is the vitamin for people over 50. And then if you have a cardiovascular issue, this is the one you want to take. So over 50, cardio, oh, that's what I have. So this is the multiple vitamin I need. They never read the label to see that it could have a bunch of junk. Do you want to pay in a multiple vitamin for colors and dyes? I don't. Do you care what color that is? Not really, but they think you do. So they have to put blue lake dye or red color dye or whatever it be. And a lot of people have allergic reactions to colors and dyes. You know, that's what causes a lot of, you know, issues with children and different stuff. So I don't. And those gummies, you know, we have gummies in Nature Sunshine, but they don't have any artificial colors or dyes. And they don't have any artificial sweeteners or any of that stuff. But you buy these brands that are out there, read the label. What makes those gummies taste so good is a bunch of junk, but it's in multiple vitamins. High fructose corn syrup, yes. So read labels. Please read labels. Leon.
Yeah, for the cornbread lovers.
Yes. Yes, like you.
Uno.
Yes, yes.
Nature's Harvest over there has a
Organic Harvest has.
Organic cornmeal.
Yes, it's good.
It makes that makes delicious cornbread.
Oh, it is
awesome.
Wonderful. And they have grits.
Mm-hmm.
They have organic grits too,
Yes.
which are yellow. And they really have a nice taste.
Say that again.
Organic Harvest has, that's what they're saying, has the organic grits, organic cornmeal. They have it yellow, blue, you know, they have the more in nature. The way God made it work is in nature, food that has more color has more nutritional value. That's just the way it works. So the darker in color the corn is, the more nutritional value it has. Okay. So if you buy the organic, you know, stone ground, that kind of thing, it's wonderful. And it does make awesome cornbread. Awesome cornbread.
I have a question about sprinkle water.
Which kind of water?
Sparkling water.
Sparkling water. So it's got carbonation to it.
So they say 0 sugar.
Like Perrier or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good.
If it doesn't have sugar and it doesn't have any artificial sugar in it, it would be fine, but it is carbonated. Now know that in science class we studied you breathe in oxygen, breathe out carbon dioxide. So if you do carbonated beverages, it can lower the oxygen level to a degree. And so if you already have respiratory issues, that might not be a good thing. I like just straight water myself, but it's not bad. Okay, it's not horrible for you. But you know, if you get a drink that you buy anywhere and it says 0, 0, 0, 0, but it has a flavor and it has a color, they're lying to you. Something's up. It's not telling you everything. So I don't buy stuff like that because I feel like, well, you didn't tell me everything that was in there.
Yeah, it's like, why does it taste
That,
if there's nothing in it?
that is right. Why does it taste like that? Yep.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes. Okay. Now, when you're trying to maintain proper blood sugar balance, we've talked about pH, we've talked about the diet, we've highlighted a few supplements. We have many different supplements that address blood sugar. But if you don't have any blood sugar issues, great. If you pay attention to your diet and you keep everything balanced out, awesome. But some of us do. Like I say, I was diagnosed at a very young age, but now that I pay attention to my diet and that I stay hydrated and I keep my pH balanced and all that kind of thing, I pay attention to the other endocrine system glands. That's the area that I don't think everybody understands. Your endocrine system works together. So ladies, If you are in your second 50 years and hormones are roller coastering, could that affect your blood sugar? Yes. Because hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, pancreas, ovaries in women, prostate in men. That's your endocrine system. Those are some of your glands. They all work together. So if one thing gets out of whack, it can throw everything else out of whack. So let's say you have a hysterectomy, ladies, or you're going through the change. Now, things that never have been a problem all of a sudden are. So you want to balance out that hormonal system. And of course, we have herbs and natural things that can help us with that. And then it's going to help your blood sugar. But where is your pancreas, stomach, liver, gallbladder located? Is in this center area. And a lot of people, men and women both, will gain weight in that center area where they never have before when they start going through the change of life. And that many times has to do with that blood sugar. The other thing you want to pay attention to is cortisol. Cortisol is naturally secreted by your adrenal glands. It has a hormonal significance. Why would your cortisol levels be too high? Is maybe you have stress. Now, maybe you don't have stress, but if you don't sleep properly, that is stressful on your body. If you skip meals, it's stressful on your body. So a lot of people do have stress that they're not sitting there going, well, I don't worry about everything under the sun. That's not, I'm stress-free. Well, other things going on may be causing stress in your body that you're not staying balanced with. What's your diet, your exercise, you know, whatever, your sleep pattern, all of that kind of stuff. So you got to look at the whole kit and caboodle. I was talking with Dr. Day today. He's the eye doctor that we work with a lot. And he was giving me some research about, I had sent him a client, and he said that the reason this guy was having the eye issues that he was having had everything to do with his cortisol levels. So cortisol can affect your vision as well as all kind of other things in your body. It can cause a lot of people to gain weight in the trunk of their body. It can cause, you know, a lot of sugar cravings, different things. So we have a product called Nature's Cortisol. If your cortisol levels are too high, and your doctor can check it out and see, you know, you can get tested and see with blood work if they're elevated. And then there are products that we have to get it back into normal range. You're not wanting to get it to zero because cortisol is naturally produced. You just don't want it to be too elevated.
What's the name of that?
Nature's Cortisol. You go to rhondadial.com, click on product list, you can read up on it. It's a blend.
And look under Nature's.
Look under Nature's, yeah, not cortisol. You got to look under N. That's right. Okay, now we've got, yeah, go ahead.
Is blood sugar can be cured?
Well, you know, I can't use the word cured, okay? I can't make those claims, but this is what I say. You feed your body the food it needs, and it has a God-given ability to rebuild itself, and herbs are food. So I use the word herbs and food interchangeably. So I do believe that any part of your body, as long as you still have it in you, can be rebuilt. Yes. And we got to give it what it needs. And it's not just herbs and supplements. You want to follow the dietary thing. So if somebody wants to take supplements and they're not going to change their diet and they're going to eat like crap, well, they're not going to get the same results as if they follow the dietary things that we were talking about, the potatoes, rice, cornbread, and pasta, and they stay hydrated, and they do some good cardiovascular exercise and get that blood flowing, because the blood is carrying the nutrition to that part of the body. So if you're sedentary and don't have good blood flow, you're not going to get the nutrients where it needs to go. So, but if you do all those things right, your hydration, your diet, supplements mean that you need to supplement what you're not getting out of your diet. And the soil is depleted. We know that. So the food grown in the soil is not got the same nutrition it did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that kind of thing. So that's why supplements, most of the time, people need to do it. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, you were saying that the blood needs to get all over the body.
Yes.
What's that stuff that you're talking about that roto-rooters out the veins?
Okay. Roto-rooter, the veins and arteries. Yes, yes. We talk about oral chelation sometime, and the name of that product is Mega Shell.
On special this month.
It's on special this month. Yes, yes. You know, Nature Sunshine's like me. They pay attention to heart and circulation around Valentine's Day. That's why I always like to teach that class like we are next week. But they'll have things on special that they like to talk about. So, yes.
It's mega what?
Shell. It's spelled CHEL. So, mega shell. Some people call it mega kale. It's tomato, you know.
Can you tell me just like a little bit about that?
There are rules to the mega shell. Most of the time, people are going to do that in conjunction with minerals. Now, we have trace mineral maintenance, which is tablets that has all your minerals. And then we have two liquids. One is called ionic minerals that has all 70 trace minerals. And then we have Chinese mineral Chi tonic, which has 70 trace minerals, but also adds some adaptogen Chinese herbs with that. Now, one of those, I named off 3, one of those would go with the mega shell. Now, you take it a month for every 10 years of life. So if you're 50, you do it for 5 months, for example. So get started as young as you can. You don't have to take it for as long. But anyway, you're taking it a month for every 10 years of life. And you work up on your dosage. So on the bottle, it'll tell you that you're supposed to take 12 of the tablets a day. And it'll say take 6 morning, 6 supper. But I usually recommend take 4 3 times a day. And that's a little bit easier to do. And then you work up though. You'll take 1 3 times a day, then you'll do 2 3 times a day, and then 3. You know, you're slowly work up every couple of days. So by the end of the week, you've gotten it that 12th day. And then that's when you mark your calendar, a month for every 10 years at that point when you've gotten it your full dosage as you're supposed to have. Now, do not do that program that I just said unless you're hydrated. The amount of water that we've talked about, half your body weight in ounces. Because the product is designed to stir things up on that cardiovascular system.
So it gets all your veins.
Yes, but if you don't have that universal solvent to flush the toilet, which is your water, then you stir things up and they don't have a way to get out and you're going to be sick. So you don't want to do that. So I always make sure people have committed to be hydrated. Then we can add that product if need be.
So is it all natural? It doesn't have any
It is.
EPA in it?
No, it is minerals. See, organic minerals will help to chelate the inorganic minerals that might have clogged up your veins and arteries. So I did it when I was 22. Now, why did I do it when I was 22? Is because every time, you know, you go to church or you're standing in a group or whatever and you hold hands, everybody would always go, "Oh, your hands feel like bricks of ice." I used to hear that all the time from people. And my feet, of course, were cold too. They weren't holding my feet, but they were like that too. And basically, I knew that it had to do with blood flow. Okay. I went to a convention where they had all this stuff and they had this device there. And you put your hands and it had this device over and it measured blood flow. My fingers did not show up. So there wasn't significant amount of heat blood in my fingers. And I was like, well, that's why my fingers always are freezing cold.
They go to sleep?
Yes. And so did my legs. Below my knee would go to sleep all the time at school. You know, you sit in a desk like everybody else. Their legs weren't going to sleep, but I'd get up and fall down, get up, fall down. And yes, I passed out because of my blood sugar, but also fall down because I couldn't feel my feet. Because you sit down and it decreases blood flow, but it shouldn't decrease it that much. So it was blood flow. So I did that oral chelation, the mega shell, when I was 22, and it made a huge bit of difference. And I really have not had that problem since. So get started with it as soon as you can.
What if you actually have neuropathy?
Well, I think, you know, you can't say that it would be for sure in that category the only thing a person with neuropathy would want to do. But if it increases and supports that circulatory system, it couldn't hurt.
If you have it as a result of heavy metal poisoning.
Well, and it's roto-rooting and cleaning things out. Yes, it could be beneficial with the heavy metal. Yeah.
Is it something you would do just once?
Now, that's a good question. Is it something you would do just once? Now, I think I only did it that one time. Okay. So I think if you did it and you changed everything, you changed your diet, you changed your exercise, you hydrate your body. In other words, you're not dirtying it back up.
Right.
Then you might only have to do it once or twice or whatever it be. But if you go back to your old ways, then yeah. So See, when I was 22, that's when I got started in herbs. So my life shifted like you wouldn't believe. So I hadn't put any more toxicity back in there. But the other thing was, at 22 years old, I was already a hairdresser, like I said. And so I was absorbing toxins in the pores of my skin because you touch perm solution and hair dye. Now, you're supposed to wear gloves. Very few people do. Because you think, well, I'm just going to touch it for a minute and then I'll wash my hands. Well, that minute, it's in you. Anything you touch with your skin is inside your body very quickly. And so you can overload the liver, can get very toxic very quickly. And your liver has to filter out its poisons and toxins via the colon. That's how it's going to come out. There's 5 ways that poisons and toxins get out of all of our bodies: colon, kidneys, lungs, lymphatic, and skin. Those are your 5 major channels of elimination. And if they're not all open and doing their job, things back up, we can have a problem. Do you have a question? No?
No.
Okay, good deal. Well, I know it's getting late. I don't want to keep y'all here all night. Did I give y'all some things to think about?
Yes.
Awesome. Now, we've got a lot more products that I didn't talk about tonight that support the endocrine system, blood sugar, high, low, whatever it be, but we discussed quite a few. Y'all know you can go to rhondadial.com, click on product list. You can look up HYC, which is a Chinese combination of herbs. You might look up HYA. You might look up the licorice root, the spirulina, the sugar regulator. We have an Ayurvedic formula called blood sugar formula. So there's a lot of things I didn't talk about tonight that support that endocrine system. But I do want to say that the diet has to be there. And if you want to do a consult, and let's talk about the dietary things, let's talk about the supplements, let's just talk about your lifestyle, see what's going on. I do consults by appointment. Call the office, or if you're here tonight and want to set up one, we can. It takes about 45 minutes to check you out, and it changes. So if you say, well, I've seen you before. I had a lady come in today. I saw you before, and I said, well, it's a good idea about every 3 months for us to powwow again. And she said, yeah, it's been a year. And I was like, well, I bet you've gotten all the goodie out of that stuff by now. It's time to shift and change. So just keep that in mind.
Alabaster.
That's right. If she saw me in Alabaster, I've been here 5 years. So it's been a while. So let's do a consult again, check you out, see what's going on, and I'll be able to answer questions specifically about you in that consult. That'll be a lot easier. Now, does anybody have a question that does not have to do with tonight's class, or that does?
I have a question about
Okay.
as far as the fruit is concerned.
Yes.
How much fruit do you say one should
Not more than about a cup of fruit, and those fruits don't need to be bananas and oranges.
Okay, a cup
Yes.
for one meal or for
The day.
or one meal.
Yeah. Don't put a cup of fruit 3 times a day. That's going to make your blood sugar go up too much. Now, the berries, like your blueberries and your raspberries, your berries are lower glycemic, and they're a better way to go.
So as far as the berries, and if you could have,
No, we're still going to limit anything to a cup
I know it's gonna be a
Per
cup.
day.
per
So
day.
you mean just one cup per day?
Per day. Yep,
So,
that's a good question.
Another question. They say banana is good for potassium.
Bananas are rich in potassium, but did you know there's a lot of other foods that have a lot more potassium that nobody ever even talks about? Yogurt has a lot of potassium. Butter beans have a lot of potassium. There's lots of other foods that have potassium. Celery, there's all kinds of things got potassium in it. I don't know how bananas got that, Chiquita beta lot or something. I don't know. But basically, there's a lot of other foods. And because it's high glycemic, I would go more with yogurt and other things if it were me. Now, it's okay to eat bananas, but try not to eat too many. I'll never forget years ago, my ex-mother-in-law, I went over to her house and she said, Rhonda, I am constipated. I am really having a problem. And I said, have you been this way long? And she goes, well, just a couple of months. And I said, well, let's talk about what you're eating. And she said, well, now that all the kids are gone and all that, I really just, I don't cook. I don't do the eggs and the sausage and the bacon and the biscuits and all that anymore. I just eat a bowl of cereal. And, my stomach's been a little bit upset lately. So I've been eating a lot of cereal. I said, what kind of cereal do you eat? Cornflakes. And I said, what do you put on the cereal? Milk. What else you put on there? Bananas. She was eating about 3 bananas a day. It was stopping her up. That's too many bananas. So I usually say to people, no more than 1 banana for sure. But I usually, if I eat a banana, I'm only going to do half. Because I do add it to my smoothies sometime, but definitely not every day. Change your fruits around. God created a lot of different fruits. Change them around. Eat things in season. Play around with it. Okay, Angela, you had a question?
Yes, about enzymes. You mentioned some Saturday on your show, and there was one that was for people over 70, age 75 or
Very
over,
good.
and it just had 3 initials, something like PDA. And
that's it.
Is it?
You got it right,
Oh,
PDA.
Okay. All right. Well, I wasn't sure about that. So.
I was talking about with the older crew, like over 75, everybody starts secreting less hydrochloric acid as they get older. And so PDA, P is in pan, D is in dog, A is in alfalfa. Basically, that supplement is like straight hydrochloric acid. So if you're older and if you're having some digestive issues, that one could possibly be your friend. Yes. I'm glad you were listening. That's awesome.
Well, it could have been a personal digital assistant.
Right.
All the displays of affection.
That's right.
But I'm not sure I heard that right.
Yes. Very good. Well, if you came in late and you didn't hear, next week on Monday is Nature Sunshine's Education Week. And so they have a different speaker Monday through Friday. It airs either at 8 o'clock at night or 12 noon. It's free. You get education. They give away supplements, all kinds of things. It's worthwhile for you to listen to. Plus, the knowledge is awesome. You go to Nature Sunshine and register for the Education Week, and then they'll give you a link on the computer. If you don't and are not computer friendly, you can listen to it on the telephone. So they've got a number you can call in on. So y'all try to enjoy that. It's awesome. If you don't have time, they do also archive them on nspwebinars.com. Okay. If anybody ever is not a member and wants to order any products, if you go to rhondadial.com and you click on product list, you can read about them, but there's a little section there that just says order now, and you can sign up as a member right there and order products less expensive than retail. So if you decide you want to do that, you can. Don't forget about the radio show. It's Saturday from 3 to 4, and it just got syndicated this weekend. If y'all were coming in late, that's what I've been so excited about, and it's going to go further and further. You know, in 2 weeks, we'll be up in Huntsville and Decatur area, and I'm working in Orlando of getting it together, and I'll be airing in Orlando here hopefully in a couple of months. I've already got quite a few people that are interested in sponsoring that broadcast. So I'm just really excited that it's starting to grow, because this knowledge is something that a lot of people want and desire more now than ever before. I promise you, I've been doing it for 33 years. And when I first started doing it, I was fired up. It was changing my life. I loved it. And I'd say, I'm taking herbs, and people go, you smoking it? You know, I got all kinds of responses. People ragged me. They didn't get it, you know. So now it's more acceptable and more people want to know about it. So y'all spread the news, invite people to class next week. Valentine's, heart, circulation, that's what we're going to be going over. I wanted to put something on the website, and Kara goes, don't put that on there. We'll get questions about libido like crazy, but we will go down that path, because circulation in certain parts of the body does pay off. So we will talk about that too. Just know. Well, I thank y'all very much. Let's go around the room. I like everybody to know who their